Hi everyone, and welcome to the Bear Necessities. I'm Bear, and today we're making cookies. Surprise, right? We're going to be making two of my absolute favorite cookies. Oatmeal Raisin, because oatmeal raisin is the best, and those of you who think otherwise, I'm so sorry, whoever hurt you. And then the other is going to be an oatmeal cookie that has chocolate chips, pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. These are toasted pumpkin seeds. And then some chocolate candies. You know what company I'm talking about. So those. And to get started, preheat your hot box to 350 degrees. I remembered it at the beginning. Woo! Win for Bear. So to get started, you need a half a cup of granulated sugar and a half a cup of packed brown sugar. In here, I actually have half a cup of monk fruit and then half a cup of a baking blend for brown sugar. It's an alternative that is monk fruit, erythritol, and a tiny bit of molasses. I would like to add a little bit more molasses, but I'm holding out on that. Then you also need half a cup of just regular butter, softened. Room temperature is good. If your room is too warm, kind of like mine was earlier, you might want to put your butter back in the fridge for 5 minutes or so just to firm up ever so slightly. It helps when we're creaming everything together for it to remain, good and solid rather than getting kind of weirdly squishy liquidy. That way when we're making our cookies, they kind of flatten out a little bit. They melt instead of just puffing. Then you need a cup of all-purpose flour and then a cup of quick oats. I also have 1 egg, just a whole egg that I have cracked into a bowl because a bowl. I have half a teaspoon of salt, so just table salt. If you use kosher salt, use about 3/4 of a teaspoon just to make up for the largeness of the grains. I also have half a teaspoon of baking soda and half a teaspoon of baking powder. And I have a whole teaspoon of vanilla. And you can just use whatever vanilla you have. So I'm going to be splitting this batch in half and flavoring it 2 ways. This batch makes about 12 cookies. So if you need more, just multiply. Really, it works that well. If you're going to be just doing oatmeal raisin, you're going to want to go ahead and just double this because, again, I'm giving halves. But in here, for my half batch, I guess it'd be a quarter batch. I have half a cup of raisins, and then I also have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon because I really like strong cinnamon flavors in my oatmeal raisin cookies. And then in here, I have half a cup of dark chocolate chips. I found some at the store. They had a coupon. How could I resist? Otherwise, just use whatever chocolate chips you have if you're going to do these with chocolate chips. I also have a 1/4 cup of the toasted pumpkin seeds, and then a 1/4 cup of the little chocolate candies. So crispy and delicious. You can forego this. You can also use different nuts if you'd like, walnuts or pecans. And you can leave out the candies if you want. These are your cookies. Add in what you want. Make them into a kitchen sink. Just add whatever you got. Put raisins in with all of those and test your friend's ability to trust you. Fun things. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and get my sugars into my big mixing bowl. Just going to put that to the side. And then I'm going to add my vanilla, my egg, and my butter. Yum! And I'm using salted butter. I prefer salted, and just because I like that extra salt bite to it. It's another reason why I only have half a teaspoon of salt in here instead of a full teaspoon, because I didn't want it to be absolute overkill. And what we're doing now is we're just going to cream everything together which means we're going to blend it for just a minute or two, where you can't really tell where one ingredient begins and the other one ends. So I'm going to fast forward you through this, and I'll see you in just a second. Alrighty, so we've got everything creamed together nicely, and we can continue moving. So into this, I'm going to add my flour and my oats, but first I'm going to add my baking soda, baking powder, and salt, and just kind of stir them in. Give everything a hand up while you can before you start mixing it together. Because as always with anything, you don't want to overmix this. All right. Ooh, so loud. Can't miss anything. All right. And we're going to get that mixed together. It'll only take a second. And this will be a lumpy, clumpy oatmeal raisin cookie dough. All right, and that took about a minute, a little bit longer, just to get everybody nice and mixed together and holding together well. Like I said, this is a very thick cookie dough. So don't be afraid, you did it correctly. So I know my chocolate chip cookie dough can be a little bit on the soft side just because it has so much more fat in it. Now we're going to divide this in half after I rinse my hands. These are not the buttered fingers I prefer, trust me. There we go. Now let me get this divided in roughly half. Doesn't have to be perfect. A little bowl I discarded earlier. And we're going to add our raisins and cinnamon. And yes, this is a high raisin to dough ratio. And you're just going to kind of press everything in together. All right, we've got that to a nice consistent mixture. So we're going to move to the second dough. Gosh, it's just going everywhere. And this looks like a lot. It's because it is. I'm actually probably not going to use the whole thing, and now I have trail mix. So, like, just not good for you, trail mix. I'm going to start with about half of this. I was overly ambitious. And we're going to get it worked in as well. All right, and as you can see, these cookies are going to be nice and full of mixed in delicious bits. Yum, can't wait. And so, let's get our baking trays and get ready to put them into our, again, 350 degree preheated oven. And I have my cookie scoop. Again, this is about 2 solid tablespoons. It's actually slightly more, I found. So if you want to measure larger cookies, just use 2 tablespoons of mix, roll them into a little ball, flatten them ever so slightly, and put them on your baking sheet. And that's how you do. Let's just get these. And because of the mix-ins, this one's probably going to make more like 7 cookies. So, you know, chef's treat. Or let me restate that. Looks like it's going to make 8. And last one, yep, precisely 8 cookies down to a scoop. Sweet. All right. So we've got these scooped up and ready to go. And let's get the oatmeal raisin, which are the ones I have truly been waiting to enjoy. I have had this video planned for a while, and I've just been counting down to it. Sorry for all the loudness. All right, and there's the other 8 cookies. And so that we leave no dough behind. Rinse my fingertips off. Okay, I'm going to get these into my preheated oven, and I'm going to bake them for 6 minutes. And then I'm going to switch them top to bottom rack, turn them around because, again, I know my oven, and let them bake for another 6 to 7 minutes. These do need a tiny bit longer to bake. But I'm going to bake them off, let them sit for about 5 minutes, and I will see you right back. Alrighty, so cookies have finished baking. They actually ended up doing 6 minutes on each rack, so when I flipped them and turned them, they just did 6 minutes each. And I believe because I didn't use like real sugar, they didn't fall as much. Just the real sugar would actually kind of liquefy a little bit more than the monk fruit. And I'm okay with that personally. They're not terribly cakey on the inside, I can feel, so I'm still happy with that. They're gonna be nice and chewy. But the oatmeal raisin came out gorgeous, and so did the, what would you call these? They're not quite a cowboy cookie, but they're real close. And I believe we need to give them a taste, don't you? Oh my God. That's a happy dance moment. So stinking good. And of course, okay. I'm sorry you have to bear witness to this, but wow. Okay, collected myself. They turned out amazing. Really happy with that. The oatmeal raisin have that punch of cinnamon that I added in at the very end, that extra like 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Normally for that recipe, it would call for a 1/4 teaspoon. So, sorry, half a teaspoon, but still, like you can imagine. And then the little sugar bombs over here, delightful. They taste like every child's like happiest dream of what a cookie should be, or at least this child's. It's so much chocolate. And then between the oatmeal and the pepitas, the pumpkin seeds, my brain, there's light crunchiness. The edges are crisp. The interior is soft and chewy. I'm happy. I'm a happy, happy bear. So I hope you enjoy making these as much as I absolutely always do. Oh my gosh, I love making these. These cookies are always a pleasure to me. And I hope you find the things in the kitchen that are for you. Maybe it's baking cookies or breads. Maybe it's making pies. Maybe it's successfully making pie crust that Bear has never mastered. Whatever it is, however you do it, in whatever way and whatever you add, make it yours. Make it delicious according to what you find delicious. Find some peace in it, and a little joy, and that little sugar high that comes from a really good cookie. And until I see y'all again, bye.